Period. Welcome back to the diary room, please.
Thank you. And I just kind of want to put a warning out to the listeners, if anyone does listen, that you may hear dogs in this recording because this is my like a second computer. So just so you know, the mic is probably picking up on a lot more than it usually would, and I'm so sorry for whatever may happen.
Crying. So we Brandy leaves and we, head into a live, not live, but kind of an endurance HOH. So kind of I saw you wanted to sit, you kind of wanted to just sit back, let the HOH happen. You didn't really want to win it. But kind of how was the HOH for you?
So for me, the HOH would have been just a terrible decision all around. Because first and foremost, at this point in the game, though I don't have particularly strong alliances in some places, I'm in technically an alliance with everyone but Crow. So if I put myself in a position where I win, the only person I can put up without having to explain myself a little bit at least is Crow. So for me, not only would it be a dangerous position, but it's just kind of not worth it just to get out Crow when other people could do that. So for me, the HOH was just like, whatever, somebody else can win it, and I'm cool. This wasn't a week for me to stick myself out there. So when it came to time for the endurance, I was just very honest with people. I was like, hey, I'm not even like playing this one. I used an excuse in my concert, even though that was later in the day, and I would have been fine. I used that excuse to my benefit because I just didn't want to win. There was no reason for me to.
All right, no problem. So Sammy goes on to win the HOH. It's actually between Sammy and Mira. How did you feel about Sammy HOH at first?
Oh, goodness. I think everyone and their mother knows about the drama at this point. So to see the results was just like, oh, interesting. So honestly, I don't even know if I should recap it, but I think everyone knows that Mira and Sammy have a very personal issue. And because of that, they are not close. And both were probably gunning for each other this week. I mean, literally shown, which we'll get to later. But it was just kind of wild to see both of them were gunning so hard for it. Like it truly felt like a vendetta. And like I know that this is probably going to continue out until one is gone. So it's kind of crazy to think about. I mean, my immediate thoughts when doing that was just like, oh shit, Mira's kind of in danger. So I'll like let you ask about the nominees because I'm sure like I can talk about that plenty because Lord. But overall, it was just kind of crazy.
So yes, noms, do come out as Mira and Malik. Um, Obviously, Mira, you consider a close ally of yours. Um, Kind of how are your gears turning at this point?
Well, I don't know where you got the idea that we were close. That's so weird of you. Going ahead and practicing the outing because we're definitely close. I would say it was a little terrifying, but at the same time, it wasn't the worst thing ever in terms of like how worried I was for her. My biggest worry was actually towards myself here, and that was kind of just looking down the line at things. I mean, first and foremost, seeing Sammy win and knowing Mira was going to go was kind of scary because, of course, I don't want her to go, but I didn't see any reason that she would go against Malik. My concern was, oh, looking at these nominees, there's two socials up, and the other one is immune. I'm the only one left to possibly be nominated. And that idea, even though I do trust Sammy enough to like not put me up, was a scary thought. Because my idea of it was if Sammy is willing to go hard enough to try and get Mira out, I am one of the options to pawn against Mira, and I don't want that to happen. So that was my biggest concern down the line if it did happen. So it was just kind of scary to think about how I possibly could have got put up next to Mira, and that was more what I was concerned about than Mira being up herself, because I kind of figured that she would be okay. I mean, the noms weren't great for me. I do think Malik and Mira trusted me quite a bit, but it wasn't anything that I was was going to stick for, because ultimately the only person that I would have any reason to do that for was Mira, and Malik was going to totally be evicted against her. And I knew Mira was going up, so I had to accept that it was kind of the case. I was just like, let's get somebody up there that I know Mira can be safe with, and just agree to it. And plus, excuse you. And plus, Jesus, bless you. And I was just kind of in a concert situation too, so it's not like I had much time to put that input in. The concert did actually come to bite me in the ass there. But it is what it is. That's what happened with Noms, and it was a little scary, but it wasn't the worst thing that possibly could have happened.
Okay, so you win the GPA for this cycle again. Kind of how was winning it for you? Why did you ultimately choose the vote blocker, and who did you decide to tell about it?
Well, it was kind of a regular experience for me. You know, it's kind of hard being at the top and then just staying at the top. Um, honestly, it was kind of just an experience for me. I think I spoke about it last week, to see how the power worked, to see if powers went out of play. And I got to see actively that they didn't. There could be a technicality in there. I can't guess it. But for now, what I can tell is that all four powers are always up for grabs. My thought was, when I got it, the thing is, I had to accept it before I could talk to somebody about it. I mean, I could say that I got it, but I couldn't say what the decision was until then. But the problem for me was I had to rely on the fact of who won HOH, because if Sammy won HOH, I was probably best off doing immunity because it keeps Mira safe. And I wish I had done that now, because this week could have gone very differently, and I probably would have seen somebody from the physical team going out, such as Val or Crow. But that's not what happened. I did not pick that one because I thought Mira was going to win. I put a lot of investment in that. And when I was looking at the powers, the immunity wouldn't mean anything, because I think Mira would have worked with me to get like who's getting nominated there. So it just wouldn't have been like any use. And then with the other ones, forcing someone to sit out just isn't very like impactful this early on, because there's just too many people that could win. And plus you can't gauge the like comp abilities of people at that point. And that kind of left me with the vote block and then the veto ticket, which I was considering both. And for me, the veto ticket was a possibility, but at that time I had no reason to think that Sammy was possibly a comp beast. Now I do, so my read was very off there. But at the time I was thinking the best way I can influence this is use a vote block and make sure that this vote actually goes through all right. And unfortunately, my reads were off. Sammy won, and that meant that the power kind of got lessened for the most part. I wish I had chosen the immunity, but I can't rewind time, unfortunately. But ultimately, I told Mira about it because I trust her a lot, and I kind of, at this point, was like, I really didn't know if I should tell someone, because I didn't want to like put a target on my back or like give it any possibility to spread, because that's how I was last week. But at this point, I was like, I really want to like make sure I cement trust with a specific person here, and Mira's been my number one, so I want to prove that to her. And luck was on my side a little bit when she got nominated, because it let me continuously prove my trust to her this cycle. And I'm hoping that giving her that piece of information too allowed me to prove that loyalty and make sure that it's like a mutual relationship, and she's not just like getting info from me but not willing to like put their neck out for me anyways. I don't know.
So Sammy would win the veto and not use it a third sweep week. So with these being the kind of, what was your game plan at that point?
Well, first off, I wanted to absolutely make sure that there wasn't any possibility that Sammy was going to do something crazy. So I think it's kind of worth mentioning there that I think I was a little worried about Sammy for a second, because they were thinking about potentially renomming. And I think where I really fumbled this week in a little bit was by being a little too passive about the renom opportunity. I think I should have pushed putting Val up a little bit more. I think I was too worried about overstepping this week, because I didn't want to be put in a situation where it basically convinced the HOH to pawn me or somebody that I'm really close to, such as Shanks, Ryan, blah, blah, blah. I didn't want that to happen. I think I took things a little too passively in that conversation. But ultimately, it is what it is. The nom stayed the same, which I did want. I just didn't want to deal with the situation of someone getting pawned next to Mira and it just being a really, really bad week. But I did wish I was a little bit more active and pushing for a physical person. So once the noms were finalized, it was kind of just like a situation of, oh, Malik's going. Because I think everyone just kind of knew it was happening before the week even started. I mean, not the week, the vote even started. And honestly, I had no reason to change that. And my game plan from there was just to make sure that that's what happened. I wanted to make sure that Mira wasn't in any danger because when I got out of classes today and was able to fully commit myself to learning about the vote and everything, I was checking in and Mira let me know that Ryan was being a little wishy-washy, or at least allegedly was. So I had to kind of pick it up from there. And that was my game plan, was just to check in and make sure everything was okay because obviously I want Mira still in the house. It's no hate against Malik. I think I'm very close with him. And I think he would have been with me as well. So it kind of is just sucky in that regard. But Mira was like who I divulged info, like full info to. So it just wasn't like a competition there. So when it came to like kind of testing the waters of everything, I kind of had to do a lot really, because I had to kind of make sure everything was okay. My biggest concern was with Ryan. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't any kind of sneaky plan happening. And with Ryan, I kind of started opening up a little bit more. I wanted to start talking a little bit longer game because apparently what made him wishy-washy, allegedly, was that he was pushing this alliance of the hot girl shit plus Shinx, which obviously doesn't exist as an actual alliance. And he was pushing that to Aiden. And that was apparently why he was like kind of scary territory. So I did the best I could to possibly disconnect from them and to kind of like push my relationship with him a little further, try and make him a little bit more comfortable if needed. I kind of talked a little bit of shit about Aiden and Jordan, and I let them know that because I don't want to give it opportunity to flourish. I want to make sure that I get ahead of it because Ryan could be the player that lets them know this, and then I'm suddenly like in trouble. So I made sure they knew, and I just started, talking a little bit of shit, do what you have to. And hopefully that made him feel a little bit better. It somehow managed to get an alliance out of it that's possibly in the works between all of us, Aiden, Jordan, Ryan, and me. So that was kind of crazy in all honesty. Not where I intended that to go, but we're working with it either way. But hopefully that kind of pushed my relationship further and kept the vote from being strayed. Then an even bigger concern happened when Michael was thinking about switching around because he got nervous about essentially Mira not being as close to him as Malik was, which I do think is true in his case, but I had to shut it down, and Shinx helped me do that. Because it's not the week to overly like push anything. I think that well, obviously I can't really say anything. I just didn't want Mira to go. That's really what it was, ultimately, like if we're being real. But I also think it wasn't the week to push anything there on his part. I think that could have gone really bad. But me and Shinx hopefully talked him down. I tried to make him feel as good as I could. Like, hey, Mira says very good things about you. So I was just very confused about like, oh, I thought you all were good. So I don't know. Hopefully that worked. He seemed a little bit hesitant still, like in his like language, I guess. He seemed to still be like a little like scared. So hopefully I can like work out the crinkles there and hope everything's okay. But ultimately my game plan was like those were the two main things that I kind of pushed myself into to make sure that the vote was going okay. I checked with Malik too and kind of evilly asked him who might be on his side to see if there was any sneaky plans in the background. There wasn't, allegedly. I might get surprised in the vote. I'll cry. But Crow, Aiden, and Jordan were the only people that told him he'd be okay. Crow was obvious, and Aiden and Jordan, I know, would probably not vote Mira. There'd be no reason for them to. They were just putting out some, like, basic, I feel bad for you. Okay. And then I think that's kind of like the majority of what happened during the voting process so far and everything there and kind of my thought process as a result. So the last thing I kind of have to add there is I obviously blocked Crow, or well, spoiler alert if you didn't know, I'm blocking Crow for this vote. Okay, so the vote block. I'm just gonna go ahead and re-talk about it all. If it isn't like kind of spoiler alert here, but I voted. No, I blocked the vote of Crow. That's English, and I was kind of debating if that was the best move or not. But I kind of thought about like who possibly has the power here, and I was thinking it was me, Shinx, Jordan, and Aiden. And all four of those people have been on Mira's side this whole time. So I don't think it would be out of the question for any of them to use the power here against Crow. I don't think that would be something that is completely out of the ordinary. So I was kind of just like, okay, we'll just do this to like make sure Mira feels okay, show that I'm using the power for her, and just kind of hope that things go all right. I did think about trying to block somebody random just to kind of like throw some chaos in the mix, but I think it's more important that I show that trust with Mira first off, and then second off, I just don't see any reason that would specifically pin me as the culprit there. So we'll see how that turns out. Hopefully it's all right, but I have no real idea there. I honestly haven't talked a lot about the power, so I'm hoping people don't suspect it's me because they might. We'll hope not. Um, Either way, that's ultimately what I'm doing with the power, and I'm pretty set on just keeping it that way.
Sounds good. So going into this next HOH, again, do you feel like you're gonna gun for it? Are you still gonna lay low on that front?
I think for now, it's starting to reach the point where it is a little bit more scary, and I would like to have a little bit more agency. But I think there isn't a real reason for me to try and win this right now. I just don't think I'm anyone's number one target here. I think most people are talking about doing Livy or Crow. So I just don't think I'm in danger with anybody's HOH to the point where I need to take that agency to have the HOH. So I'm just going to let things happen. And I think I'm probably not going to choose to go for it. It's just not really a reason that's been shown for me to want to do that just yet. But I am keeping my eyes and ears out because things got a little crazy with the vote today. So I want to make sure that everything is okay and nothing crazy is going on.
All right. And so if you're not trying to win it yourself, who would be some ideal people to win the HOH for you?
I'd probably say, looking at the cast list here, Shinx, Aiden, Jordan, we'll say probably Mira. Any of those four would probably be okay by me to win. Ryan and Michael are there too, but considering the like weirdness of the votes here, I don't want to commit to that choice just yet because it is a little wishy-washy there. So I'm not 100% certain. I think I'd be fine, but I don't really know what else I was saying there. It was kind of just like, I think I'd be fine. There's four people that I would like to win, which is Aiden, Mira, Shanks, or Jordan, just because I think that without a doubt, I'd be fine on them. Ryan or Michael would be fine, but considering that things got a little wishy-washy, I'm not 100% certain just yet. So with them, it's a bit more like just caution.
All right, sounds good. Well, this was informative as always.
I try.
Please.
Yeah,
So,
I think there's
oh,
still a
sorry.
lot of games to be played. Oh, you're good. I'm just like, it's kind of right now where it's at the phase where there's still just a lot of game to be played for me. So there's a lot of room for things to adapt and change. So I'm not 100% certain on anything just yet. So I kind of need to see how things are like evolving to get really deep into it all.
Of course. So that's your live DR for the cycle. Let's see if you get your week number 3.
Nope.
Please.
Those negative 15 points are going to hit like a truck. Though I do think the Deal or No Deal might cancel them out. I don't know what's with me, but I'm kind of killer at it.
Period. Well, Blaze, thank you so much for